Hello everyone! Good afternoon and good evening to those already having their sundown and dinner. We are live here in Youth TV Network, Youth Outreach United to Help, and also live broadcasting in my page. This is your Diet Doctora, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. So for tonight, our episode is about diet. Yes, diet as in diet, D-I-E-T. So with diet, it is known as very popular, especially every January when everybody had their feasts during the holidays, the last December. It's somewhat part of every New Year's list of people. So we are live here in my brother's house. That's my beloved nephew, Kian, still asleep. Even if I'm talking very loudly here, I'm glad he's not disturbed. And later I will introduce to you to all of my family and who are here so that they can join us. Thank you so much, EJ, for tuning in, of course, and for those of you who can watch live, please do share this and help us by liking and sharing this page, especially to all the groups that you belong. Our groups is Life Without Rice and also Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community. Now I can hear my other brother coming in. I have my other older brother Alvin and wife Angela, and of course my dearest sister-in-law Mabi, who is very, very sexy already. I will show you later because they are the ones who are going to do the testimony why most diet fails, or why diet fails in general. But we will learn later on why certain diet fails and why a lifestyle change or a natural human nutrition will not fail you. It is something that we should learn so that we will not get trapped with the idea that we are only dieting for a certain reason or for a certain cost or just for certain events. Like for example, you will go on a diet when you have a planned occasion. Say for example, you're going to attend your wedding, or if it's going to be your own wedding. So people do that. They diet. They go on diet. They go on a very restrictive routine, just so we can have it accomplished in that way. So thank you so much, Mabi, for helping me always. And for those of you who are now watching, tune in our episode for tonight because we will start in a short while why diet fails and why we shouldn't really go on diet. This is something that we need to understand. So for those of you who are watching, who are part of our groups, please do share this with our group so that our other members will know as well. Also, please share this to other low carb and intermittent fasting groups. We have One Keto Society by Sir John Paul Titik, or Sir Tito J, of course, LCIF with Miss Ara and Sir Coach Dave Aguila. And of course, our very own low carb feasting and fasting community. And at the same time, our Life Without Rice. So since I started my clinic the last 2 weeks, I've personally invited a lot of patients of mine to go into Life Without Rice, or the lifestyle that we promote here. I am so happy that even if the bulk of my patients are really to my specialty, the ears, nose, and throat, majority really are ear complaints or something related to hearing or ear pain or something to do with their ears. But I'm so happy to share them, and they're somewhat very, very appreciative with the time I allot explaining to them how we can improve our way of life, how changes in how we eat, when we eat, and the type of foods that we eat can impact our overall health. That even if I am happy that they're there in my clinic, I have the opportunity to consult them, the best kind of come here, Audrey, come here. The best kind actually of come here, look at your face. Oh, you're afraid? Sige, Audrey will be here. My niece there. She's like the little me. So I think she will wake up. She will wake up her Kuya or Kuya Kian for this. So my patients actually are very appreciative, and I always tell them that although I'm happy that they're there in my clinic, I am actually also would like it better if they don't need to see me at all. Most especially any other doctors, because they will now get a hold of their health, they get a hold of their life, that they will no longer need doctors unless of course there's emergencies or there's like certain illness that they don't know about. But majority of our illness, what we are always telling them, 80 to 95%, almost 95% of the illnesses that we have today are actually brought about by poor lifestyle. This is what we call as modern day diseases. So modern day diseases are brought about by modern day food, modern day lifestyle, and it's something that we should all try to get away from and go back to our roots so that we can reclaim our health and be at the top of our health, so that we can enjoy our life more. Before we proceed, I would like to say hi, of course, to all of you who are here watching. And first, of course, was EJ Lilibeth Pajarillo Casapaw. Hello. Sumaya of Dubai. Thank you so much. Kathy Bertudes. Clay De Vega. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Hello to each one of you. And if you have anybody who wants you to greet, shout out, or anything that you want me to say, just put it in the comment section and we will have time for that. So, to start with, why diet fails, okay? So first thing, before we answer that, why do people go on a diet? What was your reason when you went into diet? Was it for health reasons? Was it for weight loss reasons? Or you just want to develop some discipline? Or is it out of curiosity? Like for example, you don't really need to lose weight, or you're at the top of your health, but somebody told you that this kind of diet might make your skin more glowing, or this kind of practice can make you really have better thinking or whatever. So if you have your own reasons or your previous experiences as to why you went into diet, please let me know. Share this in the comment section so that we can have a better gauge. But as to my experience, most of the common reasons of why people diet is for weight loss, okay? They usually, myself included, before I discovered the wonders of fasting and at the same time the low carb lifestyle, I also went into diet, but I was never really serious. I think it is something that I usually do as an excuse, that when you don't do something serious, so the outcome is something that is also not strict, so you don't really fail. It's like when you study for an exam or you have an upcoming exam, instead of studying, you don't study, so that when you fail, you will just tell yourself, I didn't study, so it's expected, or it's okay that I fail. And if ever I pass or I scored higher, it would be much more meaningful. You'd make yourself more proud if you do that. But of course, that is somewhat part of the immature defenses or immature coping mechanism that you can do. So a couple of, like 2 years ago, I finally started my adulting and started to do something really seriously and is prepared to fail if I really fail, so that I can make adjustments. I developed accountability and I practiced doing things on my own and really practicing it to the core. So part of that is discovering low carbohydrate lifestyle and fasting, of course, in my day-to-day routine. So diet is something that people do usually in terms of their goals, but by definition, diet is simply just a food sustenance. It's the type of food that you eat. It's most commonly by preference or by religion. Some are by religion, but in general, people think of diet, whenever they hear diet, is somewhat restrictive. It's something that will restrict you from eating something else. So you may not say hi, but hi to you, Rich Mark. And Rich Mark Jonas, my good friend, one of our best volunteers in Bayanihan Mission, and of course my dear friend Charisse, always there, supportive, and you can also learn. We've had her as a guest before in Wazzup Doc, and we learned so much from her experience. So when we talk about diet, people do this sometimes with a mindset that it's something very restrictive, that it is something that they should do in order to, for a short term, for a short period of time, in order for them to get what their desire, like for example, their desired goal or their desired weight, for example, or desired size. So a lot of this is common among females, like getting married. So they want to fit into that white dress. They want to feel good. They want to look at their best, and it's expected, of course. It's really good. There is nothing wrong with that. It's just that we need to make sure that that kind of diet will not lead to what we call as crash diet. So crash diet is just like super intense kind of diet without the proper mindset, and you're just doing it for a very short period of time, and comes right after. The moment you reach your goal, you withdraw, and with that withdrawal comes back the rebound. So all the things that you lost, the weight that you lost, the healing that you probably experienced, and of course the overall benefits of that possibility, that possible good kind of diet will just went away, will just go away, simply because you're not sustaining it. So why diet fails? It's because mainly of two reasons. It is wrong mindset. It is having the wrong mindset, and secondly, it is having the wrong kind of nutrition. So mindset is more on the psychological side, whereas the type of diet, the nutrition, the knowledge, the science behind that kind of diet is also sometimes really wrong, that we thought we've been doing it right. I admit, before I learned this way of life, I also part of those believers that the usual diet that we believed in, like the low-fat diet, restriction of fats, and restriction, of course, of salt, will lead to weight loss, will lead to good health. But we know now that those aren't true. So where do we start? Where do you want to start? Do we start on the mindset, or do we start in the nutrition? So let me know what you think, and we will go to our other pages. So let's see our lights. So our lights lighted. Okay, I think that is better. Is that better? So yes, to start, the mindset. So the mindset would be really wrong if you are going to go on a diet on a very short-term goal, and for that something that you will just go for a short period of time and you will leave after. So going on a diet usually is not sustainable, simply because you're doing it for the wrong reasons or with the wrong mindset. Going on a diet is not good, but changing your lifestyle for the better will give you the more sustainable, long-term, and at the same time overall total wellness that you need. Going on a diet for just one reason, for just one occasion, for just one goal of like certain weight or that certain dress that you want to wear will not be sustainable, simply because your reason is not deep rooted. You will go on, you are most likely to go on a vicious cycle of sacrificing something, feeling deprived, and then achieving something, rewarding yourself, and then going on to the vicious cycle of unhealthy habits, unhealthy eating, poor food choices, and then you go back to where you started, and sometimes you go back even worse. For example, someone weighing 65 kilograms can have a goal of 60. She will do her best to have that 60, and the moment she reaches that, she go back to poor eating habits, fast foods, all the sweets, all the sugars, no fasting at all, eating 3 meals a day with 3 snacks a day, and eventually she finds herself gaining more weight than she lost. She can become 66, 67, 68, even more. It can go beyond 70, 80, even from overweight or from like heavy normal. One can go back to becoming overweight, even obese class 1 and even obese class 2, and that is simply because it is because of the wrong mindset. Because if you are only focusing on one short-term goal and you're not looking into the more long-term goal, you are more likely to go back to that cycle. Once you reach that short-term goal, you will feel good but that is very temporary, and you will start to think that since you've reached that, you've allowed yourself some kind of reward that you can go back to your way of life. So the wrong mindset is not thinking the right way, especially if your kind of diet is something that is not natural. So not natural diet is actually what I refer to as the caloric restriction diet. So we will discuss this further in a while, but for now, know that when you go in a diet, it should be something that is lifelong, something that is sustainable, and something that is beneficial for your health overall. Something that you can do in all phases of your life, whether you are single right now, whether you are a grandmother, whether you are pregnant, or whether even if you are pregnant. A good kind of diet or a good kind of lifestyle is something that is not against anybody. It is simply because that kind of lifestyle is something that is innate, something that is natural, and something that is in alignment with how our body is supposed to be fed. The natural sustenance for humans for the last 2 million years that we've developed. So with that, we will go to what kind of diet, why certain diet fails, simply because it is the wrong kind of diet. That wrong kind of diet is wrong simply because it is going against our nature as humans. It is going against our biochemistry. It is going against how our cells, how our organs metabolize certain products, certain food products into forming into energy. So one very common diet that has, I think, plagued everyone is the low-calorie diet. It is under the concept of calorie in, calorie out. Why? Because the moment you reduce your caloric intake, you will somewhat lose weight. Yes, to some extent that is possible, but I will tell you why it is not natural. Before I tell you, I would like to say hi to Michelle Maluloyon. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have your family and friends with you, and if you want to, even if you are alone, kindly like and share this video so that others can join as well. Because you might not know, so many others, so many of your friends in Facebook and in real life are actually following your journey. There are so many members here that are silent readers, and it's okay. It's okay, we understand that, we understand their privacy. That's why we are here, sharing whatever we can share. Hello, Nicey, thank you so much for tuning in, and to all of you who are there. So calorie in, calorie out diet is not sustainable. It is not sustainable because it is actually not addressing our body's hormonal responses or hormonal processing. Because our body doesn't simply operate on the amount of calories. Calories, for those of you who may not be familiar, is simply the energy expenditure or the energy equivalent of each food groups. So we have 3 major food groups usually. It is the carbohydrates or the sugar as the basic form. We also have the proteins, or commonly known as meat, and its building block is amino acids, but that is already somewhat technical. And the last one would be fats. So fats or oils or lipids or cholesterol, they're all under the same category of fats. So per gram of carbohydrates is 4 kilocalories. Per gram of proteins will also give you 4 kilocalories. But per gram of fats will actually give you 9 kilocalories. So calories will tell you that since each person have a BMR or basal metabolic rate with a basal resting metabolic rate expenditure, that is your total amount, minimum amount of caloric requirement basing on your weight. So for example, if you are a 50 kilogram woman, you multiply that into 30 calories. So 50 times 30 would be around 1,500. So if you have an average physical activity, you're working, walking around, and you have a lot of physical activity during the day, so your daily BMR or basal metabolic rate is 1,500 kilocalories. So it is said that you should eat about that amount so that you will maintain your current weight. If you want to lose, you can lessen that so that you will also lose some weight because not all parts of your body then will then be fed. However, if you eat more than that without increasing your physical activity, those extra calories might turn into fats, okay? So that is the basic concept of calorie in, calorie out. That's why those people who are fat are sometimes wrongly labeled as lazy. And the people who are thin are somewhat considered also wrongly labeled as healthy, because we know weight loss or being thin, being on the thin side does mean that that person is already healthy, because we now understand that there are a lot more gauge of health, better gauge of health than just weight. Whereas those people who are actually overweight, who are big, you cannot really label them as lazy. It is very wrong to label those person lazy, because it is something to do with metabolism. And know that each person, about 50% in our population, are non-fat formers. So even if they eat a lot of foods, junk foods even, they will not gain weight. However, it doesn't mean that even if they are not gaining weight, they are already safe and they are healthy, because sometimes the effect of those bad foods, junk foods for them, is actually even worse than those who are becoming fats. It can be manifested as inflammation, it can manifest as allergies. Worse, it can even manifest as tumors and cancers and some aches and pains in the body. And to my experiences, I'm ENT, I have experienced that people experience unknown cause without any trigger of tinnitus. Tinnitus is like a monotonous sound that you hear even if there's no stimulation. Only you can hear that. And sometimes there is a unexplainable ear pain. Sometimes they're even like stuffing, or they can hear muffled sounds even if nobody is there. So it's not just hallucinations, but it's erroneous triggers in the brain. So anything that is causing build up in our organs that is not supposedly going to be there will cause certain kinds of malfunction. So it's different from person to person. So if you are not a fat former, you don't gain fats easily, so you can actually try to examine yourself and look which ones of these you are vulnerable. The ones closest to me, who are not fat formers, who do not gain any weight at all, but the moment she takes in carbs and these junk foods, she will have skin itchiness. They call it skin asthma. They call it skin allergies. Some even as worse as psoriasis or skin disease, that no matter how much creams, how much steroid ointments they put in there, it still persists, simply because the root cause, which are the junk foods, are still being consumed. Because our treatment, our modern day medical treatment, are now unfortunately geared on treating the symptoms rather than the root cause. So that is why we are here right now, to address the root cause. And that weight loss journey that usually triggers people to go on a diet is actually not addressing the root cause. Calorie in, calorie out concept will not address the root cause. Why? Simply because our body is responding or is operating not under the calories. Calories are just like the money, but the management that governs it is not about calories, but it is about hormones. So it is important to know the hormones that majority affects our fat metabolism and glucose metabolism in our body, so that we can know how to manipulate it to our advantage. Most importantly, manipulate it in accordance to our health goals. Hello, Connie Anthony Fabullar. Thank you so much for tuning in. So why do we need to know about hormones? It's because these hormones are the ones dictating if we are going to burn fats or if we are going to burn glucose. So as we go back, we have 3 macronutrients: the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. Okay, so hi Gina de Guzman Meses, thank you so much for tuning in. So if you go onto calorie in, calorie out, you will probably have some sort of weight loss, a little weight loss, but it's not sustainable because you will go into starvation mode. Although going into a lesser calorie diet can also be beneficial, but you should be very careful of what macronutrients you will be taking. Because if you are going to go on a restrictive low calorie diet, but most of your calories are coming from rice, bread, candies, desserts, soft drinks, sugary foods, fruits even, you will actually not lose much weight. Simply because, and even if you will lose a little weight, you will feel very, very hungry, always starving the whole time. Why? It's because when you take in those little amount of calories, but coming less from fats, less from proteins, but more on carbohydrates, you are actually lessening the food or the sustenance that's going in your body, but the hormone insulin is shooting up. So what does the hormone insulin do in our body? It makes glucose as a source of energy. So it removes the glucose from the blood vessel, it removes the glucose from our bloodstream. So you will have a low blood glucose and you will go very, very hungry. So you will urge, mostly willpower will fail you. So most likely you will still eat again another full dose. Because remember, glucose in a company with insulin will have low blood glucose immediately. But after that, you may not have enough glucose, but your body will still be elevated in insulin, because insulin can roam around your system for up to 18 hours. So for that amount of 18 hours, you will keep on searching for glucose. And you know what will happen else? What else will happen? Having those insulin will stop fat burning. It will make you stop fat burning. So even if you are already starving, the signal to burn fats, to use fats as energy will not be there as long as you keep on supplying it with insulin. So what will happen if you are eating less carbohydrates, less glucose, but still having the shoot up of insulin? Your body will actually activate gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, or it will make its own glucose, simply because there is insulin that keeps on asking for more glucose. But since you are depriving yourself because you are on a restrictive low calorie diet coming mostly from carbohydrates, your body will go into gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the process of converting extra glycogen, like for example breakdown of glycogen into glucose, but it will also trigger gluconeogenesis from proteins in your body. So although initially parts of the proteins that it will be used are the ones that are useless, so the extra, for example, the extra plaques in your brain, the extra plaques in your heart, so those extra proteins, extra deposits there can be consumed and used as energy. But the moment that's why restrictive low calorie diet, on the initial phase, you will feel good. You will feel good like as if you are also in our low carbohydrate fasting lifestyle. But if you continue to do that, you will actually put yourself in danger, because your body will now tap the proteins coming from your muscles. So that time, you will probably have induced muscle loss. So you will lose your muscles. So even if you are not very muscular, especially for females, you will go into muscle losing diet. So you will be very weak, somewhat sluggish, somewhat cannot. Good morning, Kian. Huh? Oh, you're tired. You're tired. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so loud. I'm so loud. Come here. I wanna carry you? Carry? Mommy is there. Carry? Nobody is here. Oh. Say hi later to Daddy, ha? Say hi later, Daddy. So this is Kian, my baby boy. He's like really my older brother. So it's the first time that he came to me because nobody else is here. I'm so sorry. Audrey is there. Oh, Audrey, ate, Audrey, come here. Kuya is here. Oh. So what are we talking about? So bango. So, Mami, oh. Go ka, Mami?
Yeah.
No? Here ka lang? Here lang siya. Here lang siya. Okay. So, where are we na, Kian? We are on low-calorie diet that is not sustainable. So, because if you continue to go on a low-calorie diet, you will lose your muscles. So, the muscles in here of Kian and the biceps and the ones in his gastrocnemius and the ones in quadriceps will lose if you continue to go on a low-calorie diet. But if ever you will decide to go on a natural low-carbohydrate diet, that is something that we believe in. It will actually be muscle sparing. You will not lose your muscles. Audrey, what is Audrey saying? Huh? No, don't cry. Okay? So, this is the reason why if you are fasting, like for example, if you are not eating at all, you are actually more likely to preserve your muscles than having a low-calorie diet. Because when you are totally fasting, you're actually restricting. Oh, no, cry na. Okay, come here, Mabi. I will show you. Mabi is my sister-in-law, the very, very beautiful and sexy sister-in-law. So, hi. Thank you. So, if you're actually into, no, don't cry, Palanga. So, if you are actually on a low when you are actually fasting, your phase on going into gluconeogenesis will be just very, very short. It will be a very short span of time. So it will actually become muscle sparing, because after you do fasting, you will jump into ketosis. Ketosis is activation of fats as a source of energy. That way, your muscles will become preserved. And with autophagy, we know about autophagy, and autophagy is something that eats up its own cells, and it is coming from proteins, but it will prioritize what we call as junk proteins, or the proteins that we no longer need. Where can we find those junk proteins? So those junk proteins can come from what I said a while ago. For example, the amyloid deposits in the brain of those with Alzheimer's disease, with Parkinson's. There's also what we call as Lewy bodies, those that are causing blockade in the brain that interrupts with the neuron signals. So that interrupts that. That's why people have dementia. That's why people have Alzheimer's disease. And with our eyes, for example, our eyes can have floaters in there that's also made of proteins, can have errors of refraction, meaning our lenses are becoming more and more opaque. It's still because of protein deposits. That's why there are miraculous stories of people healing their eyesight, improving their brain from very demented brain into a well-functioning brain, and overall health. So previously non-functioning organ becoming a functioning organ. A knee who can no longer walk, a person who has been bedridden for so long, someone who's been on psychiatric medications for so long, but the moment they allow themselves to heal through eating itself, through activation of autophagy, through fasting and low carbohydrate diet, they actually improve. And why is that we promote low carbohydrate diet? It is because with low carbohydrate diet, you are restricting, and you can even do low calorie diet if you want during the initial phase. You can do that, but you just make sure that you're not eating any amount of sugar or carbohydrates that is more than 20 or 50, maximum 50 grams of carbohydrate per day. Because the moment you reach that amount, you are already endangering yourself into going into that vicious cycle of low calorie, low metabolism, and protein losing, muscle losing cycle because of elevated insulin and continuous gluconeogenesis coming from the muscles. But when you eat less carbohydrates and your food sources are coming mostly from fats and proteins, your tendency to have elevated insulin will not be there. That's why your body will naturally, yes, I will need to repeat that, your body will just naturally go into its natural course of fat burning. Fat burning or usage of fats as energy is something that is very, very not natural, and it's something that is innate for us humans. It's just that it almost never happened unless we do it consciously. Why? Because we are so used with the balanced diet, the lifestyle that we were brought up in, wherein a part of our normal meal is having more than 50% of it full of carbohydrates. So we are actually on a vicious cycle of treating ourselves as having a harvest time, harvest season, all throughout the year for the last years of our lives. And with this diet, sometimes even if you already know that this is the right kind of diet, because this is a lifestyle, it is not just a short-term goal or short-term changes that we do. It's a lifestyle change, something that we adapt, that even if we reach our goal, we continue this way of life for prevention and for optimizing our health and also optimizing our life. Because when you are at the top of your health, you can do so much. You can do so many things that you have been deprived to do because of your poor health beforehand. So I started changing my lifestyle 2 years ago. So that is 30 years after I've lived a high carbohydrate, very toxic, very unhealthy lifestyle. And it took me family members, uncles, aunts, and even my dad to deteriorate and succumb to death before I realized that I need to do some major changes. And it's something that I cannot do just relying on what I've read in my textbook. It is a self-research, individual research, and good thing that even if Philippines is somewhat quite behind, but if you are only diligent enough to look into articles and scientific journals that can back up this way of life, and of course common sense, because common sense is really essential for this, you can find the answer. So I'm glad that all of you who are here watching live is here with me so that we can enjoy this life and we can maximize and we can apply this to ourselves and to our loved ones as well. Low carbohydrate lifestyle is something that is important and is something that is sustainable long term. And speaking of long term, speaking of temporal aspect of diet, you should not rush. Sometimes even if you have the right form of diet with the right mindset, but if you are in a hurry, you are still likely to fail because you are rushing things. So as much as possible, you develop patience. You include the lifestyle change, the practice of temperance or moderation, or that is the practice of not rushing things, because not all things we can get all at once. And just try to remember, if you've been into this way of life for 1 year or 6 months or 2 years and even 3 years, can you compare that to the decades long that you've been hurting your health, you've been causing damage to your health? Of course, that 2 years, that 5 years, even that 10 years even, is not equivalent to the last decades that we've spent damaging our health, damaging our bodies. So we cannot rush things. So recognize that this is a long process and this is something that we can actually improve on, and it is something that we can adopt. We can be more patient and we can enjoy the journey more. So M. Sanchez, hello. Good evening to you too. And of course, Jessie ako, hello. Thank you so much that you were able to catch up with our live. And of course, Caroline Yen Zednanret or Fernandez Bayan, Caroline Fernandez, thank you very much for watching. So you are watching this in Youth TV Network, and our producer, our very good Sir Norwin Crespo, I think we will, starting next week, we will move on to another platform, but don't worry, we will still be here every Monday, 5:30 p.m. and Wednesday, and of course, Friday. And if you are an Ilonggo or Hiligaynon speaker, or if you want to learn Hiligaynon, you can also tune in 12:30 in the afternoon come Sunday. And if you want to review one of our shows or all of our shows, I'm happy to report that they are now available in my YouTube channel. Just search Dr. Josephine Grace C. Rojo YouTube channel, and you can watch all of our episodes there. I cannot do it without the team of Sir Norwin Crespo, and of course EJ, my dearest EJ, who helped me download the files, and of course my dearest Mabi, the one that you saw a while ago, my sister-in-law May Mabel, who made my intro video for each of the videos that we have. So you can watch that already. Andre Malare, how to avoid having cramps in low carb. If you are having cramps in low carb, you should look into your electrolytes. So thank you so much for asking that, because I receive a lot of questions in my page. Since I'm already holding my clinic, I cannot attend to you all at once, and as you notice, sometimes we start a little late because sometimes I still have patients around 5 p.m. so they finish around 6 p.m. If you want to schedule an appointment, just send a message to my page. And for those of you who don't want to send a message but have questions, it's good. You can grab the opportunity during our live FB episode so that we can answer. Cramps in low carb, we already answered that in the previous episodes. It's actually the more common cause is just low in electrolytes. And what is the most common electrolyte that we are low in? It's actually the salt. So you should have your salt intake checked, okay? And if you feel like you're having enough salt intake, like more than a teaspoon in a day, you can check your magnesium intake. And with magnesium, you can take supplements. There are 200 and 400 milligram supplement dose. You can buy it as over-the-counter in many health stores, not really pharmacies, because in pharmacy, what you can get there is our prescription doses. So those are high doses of magnesium, and that you cannot buy them without prescription. But the supplemental dose, you can buy them on your own, or you can increase your intake of almonds. Okay, I will show you my almonds here. So I have almonds here. So this is my mixed nuts. So we have, and what do we have here? So this one is from the Christmas time. So we have walnut. So we have almonds. And we have this high carb chocolate chips, but don't worry, we don't eat them. It's just there, and we just put it, we bake it for our low carb donuts. So although it is sugary, but when you put a little, you can put it in your budget. So around 5 grams per button. So I brought this for my nephews and nieces that's gonna come in a short while. So you make sure that you will have enough. When you're having cramps, you make sure you have enough sodium, you have enough magnesium. And if you've been having that for so long, there might be a risk that your sodium has been so low for so long. And because of that, there is also a risk that probably your potassium is also low. Because when your sodium is low, the tendency of your body to excrete or urinate or lose potassium will also be there. So that's why taking in enough sodium is actually what we call as potassium sparing. You save your potassium whenever you have enough sodium in your body. And if all of that are covered, maybe you can also increase your water intake, because some cramps are also a part of those also is coming from dehydration from water, and not just simply from electrolytes. So, what time is it? It's already 6:44. Kana Ichi, Mary Ann Maximo, thank you so much. Tarty Velasco, thank you so much for tuning in. If you still have questions, we still have a little time. But if there's none, I'm so happy that you are here with me, and I hope you learn a little from our why diets fail. So why diets fail? Because they have the wrong mindset on how to go about the diet, because supposedly it shouldn't be a long-term thing. It shouldn't be a something that's temporary. It should be sustainable. It should be something that can accommodate everybody. So except for fasting, low carbohydrate nutrition is something that can be done by children, by women, pregnant, non-pregnant, older, elderlies, middle-aged, men, women, anybody. With illness, without illness, they can actually benefit from low carb lifestyle, because low carbohydrate lifestyle, low carbohydrate way of eating is something that is natural, that is something in accordance or in alignment with our DNA as humans, whom we developed over the last 2 million years as cavemen, hunters and gatherers, not including the last 2,000. Remember, compare 2,000 to 2 million. 2,000 years of evolution, of agricultural revolution, where we invented modern day foods such as rice, wheat, flour, and even eventually sugar or corn. Even if those foods may seem a little healthy because they are whole foods and they're plant-based and they're coming from directly from nature, but it's something that we cultivated and mass-produced and with GMO, genetically modified foods and organisms. They are no longer the healthy ones, the wild rice that we used to eat, and something that we don't consume actually every day for the rest of our lives, for the rest of the year. So it's just not that sustainable. So I hope you understand that and why other diets fail, simply because our body is not just a calorie in, calorie out machine. It's a highly functioning machine that operates on hormones. So insulin is the major, most important hormones that we have. We can learn and we can understand so that we can maximize. The moment that you have an elevated insulin in your system, fat burning will never happen, or if it ever happens, it is already because you are already having insulin resistance, which is also another kind of disease that is linked to obesity, to cardiac problems, heart attack, many other illness, diabetes mellitus, even darkening of skin. So those are simple episodes or manifestations of insulin resistance. Some will manifest, especially for women, as PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Others will have psoriasis. Others will have autoimmune disease like lupus. So all of those fortunately can be improved, if not totally healed, by low carbohydrate lifestyle with incorporation of fasting. And if you wish to know more, you can continue to follow my page, watch other YouTube videos with our other episodes, or read the books that I wrote. It's very simplified. It is very scientific, yet presented in layman's term that anyone, even just an elementary student, can understand if he only has the patience to read it until the end. So it's Perfect at Last. Wait, that's the book 1, with a subtitle that is An Evolutionary Perspectives Guide in Attaining an Ideal Body Weight the Fastest, Most Natural Way. So even if it's geared towards weight, it is actually more on a fasting protocol. Because when I published it before, I wasn't aware first of fasting as popular as it is now. I don't know anyone who will probably support fasting. When I wrote that, it is something that I am the only person who practices it and who only believes it, and something that I just shared with my family and friends. So I was hesitant before to put in fasting as the word in the title. That's why it was considered geared towards weight and evolutionary perspective guide in weight loss, but it's actually a fasting protocol. And I'm so happy that our community, people are now gaining more appreciation and acceptance when it comes to fasting as part of the normal human life cycle, as frequent as every day in the intermittent fasting, and as frequent as 1 or twice or thrice a week in extended fasting, 24, 48 hours or 72 hours even if you want. And also our second book, Perfect at Last, Health, Eat to Heal. So it's focusing on the foods, which foods to eat, which ones to avoid in order to maximize our health. So the subtopics there, the chapters there would be the many lifestyle diseases like diabetes, obesity, childhood obesity, hypertension, heart problems, kidney problems, infertility, yes, even infertility, acne, polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS, asthma, inflammation, allergies, tumors, and cancers. Those are the contents of book 2, and it will guide you on how to regain your health, how to eat in order for you to heal, how to eat in order for you to heal and not contribute to our risk of killing ourselves the food way, or eating our way out of our health. So, and the last book, of course, it's Perfect at Last Wellness, and it has a subtitle of Internal Calm Amidst External Chaos, and it's something that everybody can appreciate also, since each of us has our own stressors, struggles, but we will believe that with the right mindset, we know that mindset is everything, can accomplish, can thrive, and even successfully overcome those obstacles. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you again next Friday in Global TV Network, and of course our page, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. This is your Diet Doctora. Always remember that you can fast as long as you can, and if you do eat, please remember to stay low carb so that we will stay safe. Thank you so much. Bye bye everyone.